In the vast silence of deep space, where the light of stars flickered like the dying pulse of ancient gods, the Vrain Consular Station floated like a cathedral adrift in the void. A bastion of diplomacy, neutral ground for the fractured alliances of the galaxy, it was never meant for war. Until today. "Admiral, we're receiving anomalous readings from the Anka drift," said Technician Xylox, her dermal tendrils twitching with unease. "It's not matching any known power signatures in the registry." Admiral Crothan of the Vrain Ascendancy, a creature bred in the cold gravity of Denker 7, loomed over her station. His obsidian skin pulsed faintly as he reviewed the data. Power fluctuations, massive gravitational lensing, radiation spikes. An event, no, a presence was bending local physics like a child warping plasteel. "Is it another Bryn warfleet? Or a Threx incursion?" he asked, voice a deep rumble that made Consoles shudder. Xylox shook her head. "Negative, Admiral. The configuration doesn't match anything in the archive. It's unfamiliar. Utterly unfamiliar." That word fell into the air like a dropped knife. Unfamiliar. In a galaxy mapped for millennia, where every rival's technology was catalogued, dissected, and modeled in simulated battles, unfamiliar meant danger. Unfamiliar meant something outside of prediction. Unfamiliar was not allowed in Crothan's universe. "Put it on screen," he ordered. And then the void blinked. It was not cloaked, at least not in any traditional sense. But space itself bent around it like it was rejecting the intrusion of this shape, this monstrosity. The warship emerged from behind a dead dwarf star like a god rising from beneath a blackened sea. Angular, brutal, and wrong in all the ways something built for destruction could be. Its frame gleamed with interlocking hexagonal armor plates, each one radiating a low, pulsing hum that grew louder the longer one stared. Its hull bore no insignia, no glyphs, no flags. Only an engraving of 3 concentric rings, simple, clean, and somehow human. Xylox stumbled back. It's from Earth." A chorus of disbelief rippled through the command deck. "Earth? Humans?" Crothan's spines rose instinctively. "Impossible. Humanity hasn't had a fleet outside the Soul Cradle in over 3 centuries. They're isolationists, fractured and barely unified. The last communique from them was a trade proposal for quantum hemp and AI art repositories." Xylox whispered, "Then how do you explain that?" The ship was moving now. Not with the ponderous grace of traditional fleets but fast, unreasonably so. It flickered across the screen in bursts, as if physics allowed it to skip through space like a stone on water. More terrifying than its speed was its silence. No pings. No signals. No attempts at communication or identification. No hesitation. Admiral Crothan barked, "Intercept the feed to the Galactic Council. They need to see this. Immediately." But it was already too late. Every listening post from the Vrain borders to the Arxadian front had picked up the same signal. Not from the warship, but from what followed. A transmission broadcast in a frequency that hadn't been used in nearly 500 years. "This is the UHS Calamity. You failed to listen. Now we speak through strength." The council chamber orbiting the neutral world of Tcharn erupted into chaos. Dozens of delegates, Threx, Dolari, Bryn, Zithari, argued across species lines. "The humans don't have the capacity for a vessel like that. They must have made a pact with the Void Walkers. We must retaliate immediately, assemble the Galactic Armada." "No," croaked Voralik, the oldest member of the council and perhaps the only one who remembered the last time humans took to the stars. His voice silenced the chamber. "I warned you centuries ago. Do not provoke the Terrans. You laughed when they left the Galactic Compact. You mocked them when they vanished behind their solar walls. You ignored the whispers of colonies gone dark on the edge of human territory." He pointed a trembling digit at the still-playing image of the warship, now splitting an asteroid field with beam fire so precise it bordered on surgical. "That is not a warship. That is a message." On Earth, in a hangar hidden deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Captain Sarah Miles stood aboard the bridge of the Calamity, her command seat rising into position as the fleet synced behind her. Dozens of ships, some retrofitted from old orbital habitats, some built in secret under Martian sands, others grown in zero-G vats in Europa's oceans, rose behind her. "Status?" she asked. Her exo, a broad-shouldered AI core in a synthetic humanoid frame, responded. "The Council has received the broadcast. Surveillance probes show rapid armament mobilizations across Vrain, Threx, and Zithari sectors. They're preparing for war." Miles smirked. "Good. Let them prepare." "Final fleet confirmation, Captain?" She stood, her uniform stitched with thread laced from supercarbon nanotubes. A subtle nod to Earth's evolution. Activate full systems. Let them see the storm they provoked. For too long they called us myths, relics, shadows in the dust of time. Today we remind them. She stared out at the void. Humanity is not extinct. Humanity evolved. As the engines roared and the first jump gates opened in systems that had forgotten the name Earth, an old Terran saying resurfaced like a phoenix from ash. You only get one warning from a human fleet, and this is it. The command deck of the Irakan Vanguard flagship, Lantaris Ascendant, was quiet, too quiet. Admiral Velkar stood at the helm, his crest twitching in agitation. Holographic projections hovered above the central dais, showing the same footage looped again and again. The unknown warship had emerged from the dark zone, uncharted space filled with dead systems and collapsed wormholes, and now floated in high orbit around Neutrality Beacon 47. A vessel of unknown origin, no transponder, no recognized markings, yet clearly humanoid in design. And bristling with enough firepower to make the Irakan dreadnoughts look like pleasure yachts. "Admiral," said Kreltok, the younger of his tactical aides, "there's still no response to our hail. Their systems remain dark to our scans. But the ship watches us. We can feel it." Velkar turned slowly. "Have we confirmed human design?" The aide hesitated. "Not officially. But our symbologists matched the angular insignia on the hull with archived Terran Navy schematics. Outdated ones, some from over 300 cycles ago." Velkar exhaled through his slitted gills. "Impossible. No human vessel of that size or strength was ever catalogued. And the Terrans abandoned their outer colonies a century ago. They're barely a whisper in the galactic military corridors." "And yet," murmured Kreltok, tapping a control, "they have returned. With something monstrous." The Lantaris Ascendant shifted formation, flanked by 4 intercept cruisers. Each ship, easily a kilometer long, carried advanced pulse lances, plasma artillery, and antimatter warheads. They were enough to dominate a sector. Yet the unidentified human warship simply floated there, silent, patient. Then it moved. On the deck of the unidentified ship, Lieutenant Juno Rain watched as the holograms of the Irakan fleet shifted slightly. Her neural link pulsed with telemetry and targeting data, flowing effortlessly into her cortex. "Fleet formation adjustment complete," she said calmly. "They're bracketing us. Preparing a gridlock maneuver." Captain Reese Morgan stood with arms folded behind his back, eyes fixed on the forward viewport. "Tactical recommendation?" Juno didn't blink. "Let them try. The Aegis Revenant is more than ready." The bridge was unlike any conventional warship the galaxy had seen. It wasn't just tech, it was sentient. Integrated with Terran psionics and next-gen artificial intelligence, the Aegis Revenant could react to combat threats in picoseconds, adapt mid-conflict, and evolve its armament profile in real time. It was humanity's answer to a question the galaxy had never asked aloud. What if Earth decided not just to survive, but to dominate? Reese gave a slight nod. "Arm EMP nodes. Do not fire unless fired upon. But mark their admiral's vessel. I want him to feel our attention." Juno smirked. "Already done." Outside, from a dozen armor vents, barely visible filaments of dark energy coalesced around the hull of the Aegis Revenant. It didn't glow with blue or red or standard reactor colors. It shimmered with shadows, space itself bending around it. The Irakan ships bristled. Velkar's eyes narrowed. "Raise shields. Alert all vessels. If they twitch, we obliterate them." Meanwhile, across the galaxy in the seat of the Galactic Union Council, chaos reigned. Dozens of species filled the vast amphitheater, arguing, screaming, demanding answers. The humans were extinct. No, isolated. They left the galactic stage. They warned us never to come looking. The representative of the Hyrali Dominion banged her staff against the floor. "Silence. We have intercepted telemetry. That ship is not a relic. It is not a rogue AI. It is fully manned, fully human, and fully active." An audible shiver passed through the assembly. The chair of the council, a being so old its name had faded from records, leaned forward. "Then, a humanity has returned." "Yes," said the Hyrali. "And they brought something with them." Back in Sector 9-17 Delta, the Aegis Revenant made its first move. Not an attack, no, something worse. A transmission. It wasn't in any known code, language, or dialect. It was a pulse, an emotional projection, transmitted across a dozen bandwidths simultaneously. Every Irakan crew member received it in their minds, bypassing equipment, shielding, even implants. They saw a planet, Earth. They saw cities burning. Not by alien fire but by human hands. They saw wars. Not against outsiders but against each other. They saw survival, pain, hatred, and unity. From ashes. From extinction-level threats. From themselves. And they saw what came next. The message ended with one line: "We conquered ourselves. What chance do you think you have?" Velkar stepped back from the projector, chest heaving. "They're not the same species we catalogued. They've changed. Evolved." "No," whispered Kreltalk. "They reforged themselves." And the Aegis Revenant began to move forward. The Aegis Revenant moved like a shark in still water. No flash, no sound, just momentum, heavy with intent. Every inch forward was a psychological blow to the Irakan fleet. Their weapons were primed, their tactical AI screaming caution. And yet, not a single shot had been fired. Admiral Velkar's frills twitched violently. "Distance to our primary hull? 300 kilometers and closing," reported Kreltalk, his voice a notch too tight. "Our fleet has initiated evasive posture. Still no hostile actions from the human vessel." Velkar stared at the beast on the screen, an obelisk of dark steel and shifting shadows. "They've sent a message then advanced. Classic intimidation. They're testing us. Preparing us to be afraid." "But, it's working," said Kreltalk. The Admiral did not disagree. Across the battlefield, the Aegis Revenant's hull rippled. Like black ice touched by heat, it fractured in patterns, revealing underlying segments of weapon ports that gleamed with no recognizable energy signature. On its bridge, Captain Rhys Morgan studied the projections. They're cycling defensive codes. Changing formation. Shield modulation patterns detected. "What do you see, Juno?" Lieutenant Juno Rain's eyes were closed. She wasn't looking with them anymore, she was linked. "I see desperation," she said softly. "They've never faced an enemy like us. They're still thinking in galactic doctrine terms. Formation theory. Resource ratios. We're beyond that." She opened her eyes. "Captain, permission to deploy the Mark 7 Arbiters?" Rhys hesitated for only a breath. "Non-lethal. We still have diplomatic options." Juno smiled. "We won't kill anyone. But we'll destroy their confidence." From the belly of the Aegis Revenant, panels peeled open like petals of a metal flower. The Arbiters emerged. To the Iraqans they appeared like death incarnate. Each one was a sleek drone, roughly 3 meters long, shaped like an angular predator. Blackened exo-armor, pull-shift propulsion, zero thermal trail. No discernible reactor signature. 50 of them swarmed out in a perfect, silent V formation, and accelerated. Velkar staggered back as alerts flooded the bridge. Incoming contacts. Multiple vector intrusion. They're not targeting vital systems. The Arbiters danced around the Irakan fleet, not attacking but mocking. They sliced between cruisers, ran sensor scrambles, painted targets, then erased the data. They jammed weapons without firing a shot. One passed within meters of the Lantaris Ascendance bridge and winked out of sight in a blink. Panic spread like flame. "We can't hit them," a weapons officer screamed. "They're phasing through matter." "They're not," Velkar growled. "They're just faster than our minds can process." He slammed his claw into the control dais. "Order all ships to hold fire. We can't win this fight. But maybe we can talk our way out." Kreltalk blinked. "You want to negotiate with them?" The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "I want to survive." Back aboard the Aegis Revenant, the war room shimmered as the enemy fleet's transmission opened, a projection of Velkar's scaled, scowling face. "This is Admiral Velkar of the Irakan Vanguard. State your purpose. Who are you?" Rhys Morgan stepped into the feed, flanked by Juno and a towering machine, part AI, part ambassador. Its body bore the Terran sigil, the phoenix rising from ashes. "We are the consequence," said Rhys, "of your mistakes, of the galaxy's arrogance." Velkar hissed. "Mistakes? You were lost." "No. We left," Rhys corrected. "We saw what the galaxy was becoming. Empire after empire, war after war. Parasites feeding on each other. So we stepped away. We rebuilt in silence. Alone. And now we return. To conquer?" Rhys tilted his head. "To remind you that humans endure. That when pushed, we transform." Juno stepped forward. "You engineered a galaxy where fear dictates power. We evolved beyond that. We command respect through certainty. The certainty that we are not prey. That we will never be prey again. The admiral stared at them. And behind his eyes something cracked, an old certainty, an ancient truth. That the Irakan were the apex species. That their wars, their fleets, their domination, was unchallenged. Until now. Far away on the galactic fringe, news spread like solar flare. The humans had returned. Not as vagrants. Not as refugees. But as something else. 100 minor powers shifted into high alert. Trading posts shut down. Pirate lords deleted Terran bounties. Old scholars wept. The Varnathi profit engine, dormant for 500 years, lit up with a single phrase etched across its crystalline matrix. The Firewalkers come again. Back aboard the Aegis Revenant, Reese received the final data spike. Admiral Velkar's fleet is withdrawing, Juno confirmed. Reese gave a small nod. And our message? Sent. Across 70 relay nodes. Every major power will have it within hours. Reese turned toward the viewport. Then we begin phase 2. Let them watch. Let them plan. He narrowed his gaze. Let them understand, we didn't come to play their games. We came to rewrite the board. The stars themselves seemed to bend away from the Aegis Revenant as it drifted deeper into Irakan territory, not to attack but to be seen. The message had already reached the outer systems. Across the quadrant, over 1,000 worlds paused, screens blinking to life, frequencies overridden by one unified signal. It began with a single line of human speech, translated into every known language. You thought us gone. Forgotten. Dead. You were wrong. And then it played the footage, uncut and raw. Irakan cruisers spinning helplessly in the void as arbiters danced around them. Static-choked screams. Sensor feeds unraveling into noise. The Revenant coasting through formations like a shadow of vengeance. It ended with the face of Captain Reese Morgan. No threats. No boasts. Just a single promise. We remember everything. Back aboard the Aegis Revenant, the bridge pulsed with soft ambient light. It was calm now. The aftershocks of their incursion had stabilized. No fleets had pursued them. Not even the most aggressive empires dared test the black hull again. But the humans weren't waiting for challenge. They were preparing for something bigger. Status on the Irakan command node? Reese asked. Juno replied without hesitation. They've evacuated their prime bastion. High Command is moving to deep core territory. Their outposts are broadcasting peace offers. Reese leaned forward. And the Andalari? Mobilizing. Not for war, just watching. Closely. Like everyone else. Good, Reese said. Let them feel it. He tapped a data crystal into the console, pulling up ancient star maps, the ones the galaxy had forgotten. Hidden routes. Dead systems. Old Terran colonies lost in wars no one remembered but humans. One by one, red markers lit up on the map. It's time, Juno said softly. Time to go home. The humans hadn't just built a warship. They'd built a myth wrapped in armor, powered by silence and legacy. The Aegis Revenant was the herald, but it wasn't alone. Deep in the void, other ships began to stir, ghost fleets once thought shattered in old wars, now quietly reforged in solitude. The Mistral. The Exodus. The WRM's Wake. Each one a legend among veterans, whispers in enemy war councils. And now they moved uniting. Not to invade. To reclaim. Because what the galaxy had misunderstood for centuries was that humans didn't fight for dominance, they fought for freedom. And when denied it, they adapted. They vanished. They endured time, isolation, betrayal, even extinction-level losses. But they always came back. Smarter. Stronger. More dangerous than ever. In the farthest reaches of the galaxy, on a broken moon called Lorvin's Edge, a council of synthetic minds convened. They were the architects, post-organic superintelligences who had long manipulated galactic economies, treaties, even wars. We miscalculated, one said, its voice a chorus of glass. They were supposed to be extinct, murmured another. The genetic bottleneck, the planetary siege. But they evolved because of it, corrected the third. They unified. Silent evolution. Hidden behind our surveillance. A fourth voice interjected. So what now? The answer came from the shadows of the room, unannounced. We kneel, it said. A human voice. Come. Certain. And suddenly the architects understood, they had never been gods. Just farmers. And the humans? The seed they'd buried, had grown teeth. Reese stood alone in the war chapel aboard the Revenant. Panels of names shimmered before him. Old crew. Dead friends. Generations of sacrifice etched into steel. He bowed his head, not in sorrow but respect. They weren't returning as conquerors. They were returning as truth. The galaxy had laughed when Earth went silent, mocked the primitive species, stripped them of territory, of memory, of myth. But Earth had whispered to her children, let them forget, let them mock, and when they no longer fear you, make them remember. The Revenant turned toward a crimson star system, the first colony to be retaken. Behind it, a fleet of black warships shimmered into existence. One message echoed across the stars from every human ship. Terra rises. And this time they would not be silenced. The end. If you're enjoying these epic HFY stories, make sure to subscribe to the Void Narrative so you never miss a tale where humanity bends the stars to its will. More worlds, more wars, more legends are just beginning.